Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another session with myself, Arsh. And in today's session, we're going to be talking about how to profit from finding property deals. Now, whilst we're waiting for a few more people to join us, because it is 7 p.m. sharp, would you mind just let me know that you can hear me nice and loudly and clearly? That'd be fantastic. Just in the comments box that you may have on your screen, just give me a quick hello. And whilst you're there, if you wouldn't mind, just give me a bit of indication as to who we've got online. Who are you? Where you're from, and kind of what's inspired you to get here today. So what are you hoping to learn from the session? And more important, what's your experience as we stand right now? And the reason why I do that is because I try and tailor these sessions according to who we got on the session right now. So if you can let me know and just say, yeah. And so if you can say, yeah, my name's Leroy, I'm from, let's say, London. I've currently got a couple of buy-to-lets, or I'm currently new to sourcing, etc. That would be much appreciated, and I can tailor it accordingly. So if we've got some people that know a little bit more about it, we can go into the more advanced strategies. So this is where I kind of want to be today. So let us know. So let's go. So Tony says previously done some deal sourcing. He's from Coventry, looking to take on some rent-to-rent SA deals for myself. Okay, good strategy, Tony. You know, it's a really hot strategy right now. We're going to be talking about how we can do that, and you know how it's possible to do that. So let's get moving on. So I always start by saying thank you for trusting me with your time this evening. Appreciate there's lots of things that you could be doing, but you've decided to spend your time with me, and I'm going to try and make that as beneficial to you as possible. So what we're going to be learning within the next 60 minutes or within the next 90 minutes, my plan is to try and be online for 60 to 90 minutes. And in that, we're going to have quite a comprehensive Q&A session. So if you've got any questions, feel free to type them in the box, whether I try and answer them as along the way or whether we answer them all towards the end. It all depends on how we get on with the flow of the presentation. So we're going to be looking at how to get started in property with no money and no experience, how to make cash flow from simply controlling properties, and how to work with estate agents to negotiate the best deals. So they're the three kind of key points that we're going to be looking at today. So I appreciate that the property education space or the property trainer space is quite saturated. Everyone seems to be an expert nowadays. Don't mind saying that. But what brings you here, and more importantly, why do I feel like I have the authority to present this? So first and foremost, I've done what no one else has done so far, and it has created the UK's first property investment marketplace application. So for those that don't know, it's called the Property Investor app. You can go and check it out either whether on our website, which is propertyinvestораpp.co.uk, or if you've got a smartphone, go to the App Store, type in Property Investor and download it from there. So on there, what we do, we've created almost like a marketplace, or if I was going to simplify, I call it the right move for property deals. So I've created that application from scratch, and we've got over 50,000 users on that platform. So that's probably one of my things that I'm most proud of. I should say that first and foremost, I'm a property investor. I've been investing in properties for 22 years. Got quite a significant portfolio, which spans over 1,000 tenants. And as well as that, I'm one of the UK's leading deal traders. When we talk about deal trading, in this session, we're going to be talking about deal trading, deal sourcing, deal packaging. Believe it or not, all the same thing. So it just depends on what terminology you actually want to follow through with. So if you're a deal sourcer, you're a deal packager, you're a deal finder, you pretty much are all the same thing. So I've been trading properties for a long time now, almost like 2 decades. And off the back of that, we try and aim to trade around 500 properties per year. Now I'm going to be talking about my goal is to try and double that within this year or within the forthcoming years. I'm going to be showing you how I should be doing that. I'm also an author and a feature writer. So I've got a book, which is Amazon bestseller, which I'll tell you about in a sec. But I feature write in quite a few magazines, quite a few publications that you probably pick up every month or bi-monthly. So it's HMO magazine and also Your Property Network. I've also featured in things like the Blue Bricks magazine. So lots of publications out there. So I'm quite well publicized. And then in lockdown, the first version, I released a podcast. So with all this newfound time that we had, I started researching how to release a podcast, and it was called The Property Rebel. So I release new episodes every Tuesday at 6 a.m. If you haven't listened to it, feel free to go and have a quick listen. It's only 15 minutes long, so they're not too time intensive, but they're great for bite-sized bits of information. And as I said, I'm an Amazon bestseller. So I released a book called Boom, Bust and Back Again. So as the title suggests, it's never always been easy. I've seen some good times, I've seen some bad times, and actually back to tell the tale. So let's get moving on. Okay, so Karina says, thanks for doing this, especially for free, Arsh. I'm hoping you can advise how to be your twin in deal sourcing. That's quite a compliment. Thank you, Karina. And I hope that you take a lot away from it. So again, I'm a property trainer. I've helped hundreds of people achieve financial freedom. I'm hoping that I'm going to be working with some of you guys towards the end of the session. So my plan for 2023 is quite simple: grow, grow, grow. And I want to create the largest network of property sources in the UK. I want to become the equivalent of Rightmove for property investment opportunities. In order for me to do that, I need to kind of trade over 1,000 plus properties a year, and I want to become the largest well-known deal trader in the UK. And I want the Property Investor app to become the UK's marketplace for property investment deals. So I've got quite large goals, and there's nothing wrong with having large goals. It just means that we're going to work slightly harder to get there. And as a result, I'm going to be asking you guys to write down your goals. What have you kind of said that you want to do for 2023? And there's lots of challenges that we've got facing us in 2023, and I actually think that now's a perfect time to start creating a new income stream, because when you have a look at what's going on, especially in the UK, we're taking a bit of a beating. I don't mind saying that, because everything around us just seems to be increasing. So mortgage rates have increased. So whether it's your home or whether you've got buy-to-lets, you've noticed that if you're not on a fixed period or if you're not on a fixed rate, all your payments would have gone up. As well as that, again, the energy rates have all increased. Now, this has been something that's been extremely well publicized, where people are almost like crying to the point where they're struggling to almost like make ends meet. So mortgage rates have gone up, energy rates have gone up, food and petrol have increased, tax and wages are stagnating, but wages have not increased in line with inflation. So now is a perfect time. You've got to start looking at different ways to create different income streams, so that regardless if there's a new bill that comes out or something else that you thought, oh man, okay, this has increased, then you've got something to cover that. And in an ideal world, you want something that can create your full-time income, but only working from part-time hours. So one where there's no experience required, one which requires not much or very little time, one where there's no or very little upfront capital, one that can be done anywhere and anytime, or a business that can generate sums such as £3,000 plus from a single transaction. So when I'm looking at other businesses, this is the kind of criteria that I put in place. So the session that we're going to be talking about this evening is about deal trading. So deal trading, deal sourcing, deal packaging, and as a result, as I said, these are pretty much all the same strategy. So I suppose the question that I've got to ask you to start with is, does anyone on the call have any experience of deal sourcing, a deal packaging, or deal finding? Because for me, I think it's the perfect property strategy, because in essence, it's not a new strategy, and I'll be talking to you about that in a second. It's a proven strategy, and it's a service that is always going to need to be required. So it's a service for homeowners where you're trying to match investors to properties which homeowners have failed to sell. It's a service to investors where you're helping investors find properties which they may not have found without your help. And as a result, it's a win-win scenario. So Karina says, I've been trying to get deals for 3 months, but haven't seemed to kind of hit the mark with it. Okay, thanks for sharing that with me, Karina. I'm going to try and cover that and see, what are the things that you're not doing. So, like I say, deal trading is a very simple strategy, and the reason why I say that is because, believe it or not, it's no similar or it's not too, it's quite similar to the estate agency model. Now, when we talk about the estate agency model, we're going to be talking about estate agents that, you know, the ones that are on the high street. We've got Connells, we've got Reeds Rains, we've got, you know, the Halifax, we've got the HBOS Group, we've got Your Move, we've got all the nationals. Then we've got all the, you know, independents, like the smaller agents, etc. But their focus is kind of all the same. Now, if we look at their model in the three-step process, first of all, you've got the vendor. Now, put yourself in the vendor's shoes for the moment. So you're the person that owns the property. At some point, you probably would have tried to sell your own property. So you probably would have called up an agent, you would have called up the likes of Connells, etc., and you try to get them to come round and inspect your property and put a valuation on the property. Off the back of that, you probably choose one of the agents that you've met, and you tell them to instruct them, and you get them to start marketing the property. This is where they market the property on platforms such as Rightmove, Zoopla, on the market, and ultimately what they do is that they charge you, the seller, approximately a fee of around 1 to 2% for the sale of the property. Now, naturally, they only charge this when you sell the property, when they sell the property. And ultimately, the person that's going to be buying it is either a person that's looking to live in it. So it could be Mr. and Mrs. Smith that's looking to move in, and you've got multiple categories of buyers. So you've got the first-time buyers, you've got people that are upscaling, you've got people that are downscaling, you've got people that are retiring, you've got people that, you know, it's multiple categories of buyers that they've got, and they buy the property off the agent. But the reality is that the buyer doesn't pay the agency any fee. The agency only makes their money off the property when they sell the property. Now, in reality, that sounds great. You know, you put it on with an agent, they market it, they get multiple offers, you choose an offer, and you complete within about approximately 8 to 12 weeks. Now, what happens when it doesn't sell? So for those that don't know, the estate agency world kind of work on a model that for every, let's just imagine that every 3 properties that they put on, they will get 2 for every 3 properties that they put onto their books, 2 perhaps will get sold, and out of those 2, one will sell, the other will fall through. So in reality is that they've got a 33% hit rate. So they go out, they get 3 on the books, 2 will have offers on them, 1 will actually only complete. That means that in reality is that there's 2 other properties on there that they've got on their books that are actually costing them money. Now, stay with me here, because I want you to think of the logic behind this. And I like to talk about the psychology behind estate agency. I like to talk about the psychology behind the buying process, because only once you understand that will you understand how important you are to the whole process and how you can actually get deals. So going back to the example of Karina, so she says that she's not found any deals. Now, this session predominantly is all focused around agents. Now, we can talk about direct to vendor stuff, but the reason why I say we talk about agents is because if Karina has been going off and chasing a vendor, how many deals do vendors have? Now, when I talk about this now, if you're a investor, or if you're a person, a homeowner, let's say, how many properties do you actually own? You probably only own 1, maybe 2. If you've got a few investment properties, 3 or 4. But how many are you going to be selling at one time? At any one time, really, you're only going to be selling 1. Now, the reason why I like working with agents, and one of the big things about today's session is agents, is because at any one point, they should have 30, 40, 50, even 100 properties on their books. Does that kind of make sense? And today's session is about understanding about the pipeline. It's about understanding how to get these in your pipeline, how to work with these guys, so that if you stay consistent with them, as a result of that, you should be able to have agents feeding you stock every day of the week. And I'll give you examples of some of the stock that agents have provided me over the course of the last 6 months. So let's just go back to our scenario where a vendor has instructed an agent, and let's say after 8 weeks, 12 weeks, they're getting a little bit frustrated. Now, they're frustrated because the property is not sold, or they probably had offers, but they're not within the region of what they want. And as a result, they're now starting to look for another agent. So let's just imagine they originally instructed Connells. Off the back of that, 8 weeks later, it's not sold. The agent now the owner's thinking, well, Connells haven't done anything. Should we go to another agent? They start looking to see who else is in the marketplace. They may come across Reed's Range, Your Move, you know, John Buttersby, whoever it may be. And as a result, they then start to speak to the other agents, say, guys, would you mind marketing my property? Because these guys haven't sold it. I do need to sell. What can you do? Now, from the initial, so let's say from Connell's point of view, who's the initial agent that took on the property, they will not have made any commission from that property, because remember, a lot of these agents all work on a no sale, no fee basis. A lot of online agents do try and charge an upfront fee, but all the traditional high street agents, they all work on a no sell, no fee basis. So if they don't sell the property, they've actually not made any money. In actual fact, they've lost money because they've spent money and they've spent time going out to the property, appraising the property, get the particulars drawn up, perhaps get the EPC. You know, some of these places get throw in the EPC as part of the marketing package. So as a result, it's actually cost them now money, and they've been spending money on putting it in the on the portals, etc. Now, as a result of the owner going somewhere else, the initial agent has potentially lost that property. Now, if the vendor goes elsewhere, and if they sell it with another agent, it actually looks really bad on the original agent. So let's just imagine originally it was on with Connells. They've now gone to Reed's Range. If Reed's Range sell it, it looks really bad on Connells because they've actually lost instruction, and more importantly, a local agent has done what the original agent couldn't do. Does that make sense? So when we're working with agents across the country, it's really important that when we're working with agents that everyone understands where we sit within the process. Now, the reason why I'm talking about agents today is because it's not about trying to fix something that's broken. It's about actually creating something that's better. And I want you to start thinking today. I want you to think smart. I don't want you to think hard, because the reality of what's happening is that in actual fact, if you work this really right, that you won't have to spend a penny on marketing. Now, that's a big, big claim. The reason why I say that is because let's go back to our scenario of Connells. If Connells have already gone out and got that property, and you're now working alongside that agent, you've not had to spend a penny on marketing. More importantly, Connells have done all the hard work for you. They've spent the money on the marketing. They've got the vendor. They've gone out and they've taken the photos. They've done the floor plan. They've done everything for you. And as a result, you now need to come in and put yourself in the equation. Now, when we're talking about deal trading with estate agents, now, as well as the vendor, it's the estate agent that you're going to be liaising with. You're not going to be working with the vendor. If you're going to try and go in and cut out the agency, guess what? You're not getting any deals done, full stop. I don't care who you are, you're not going to get a deal. You're not going to go into an agent and say, hi, my name's Tony. I've seen that you got a property on, you've had it on for 3 or 4 months. Would you mind if I spoke to the vendor, because I think we can get a creative deal done? They're going to say, Tony, get lost, don't contact us again, because from their point of view, you're a massive threat to their business. Because if they think that you're cutting them out, guess what? They're actually back to square one, where they've not sold the property and they're actually in the process of losing the property, and therefore they're losing commission, not making any commission, they're losing money. Does that make sense? Now, you as a sourcer, because you've got a better understanding of the property investment world and the investment properties, you're going to be able to come in, you're going to be able to add value to this property and match make it to the right investor. And as a result, you're going to put it out to your investor database, and you're going to make some funds off a property, and they're going to purchase the property which meets their criteria, and they're going to pay you a fee for your service. So can you see how it works? All we're doing, in essence, is working alongside the estate agent. It's nothing more detailed than that. And the reason why I say it's nothing more detailed than that is because we don't want to make it complicated. Now, how I've worked with agents all across the country is that when I go and speak to an agent, I say to them, guys, you've got this property. I've got some investors. why don't we put it out to my guys? Well, we're going to put it out to my investors. You guys you'll make your money from Mr. and Mrs. Smith who's selling the property, and I'll make my money off the buyer. So in that scenario, how much commission is the agent going to lose? So how much commission? So if the estate agent is going to make their money from the vendor and you're going to make your money from the buyer, how much commission is the agent going to lose? The answer is 0. In actual fact, they've got everything to gain from working with you. But this is where you have to be able to be in a position to understand what value you add to the deal. So what makes you any better than the estate agent? Because let's face it, the estate agent have got pretty much the UK's largest platforms that they can advertise on. They can advertise on Rightmove, they can advertise on Zoopla, they can advertise on the market. They've got hundreds of thousands of pounds of a marketing budget, whereas Tony has got a couple of people that he's friends with on Facebook. What makes you different? How are you going to win that business? So you're all answering correct. They're not going to lose any they're not going to lose any commission whatsoever. They're not going to lose any commission whatsoever. Sorry, I'm reading the comments as we go along. And as Tony says, they actually become a motivated agent, because the longer that property remains on the market, the longer that they don't get any viewings, the more chance that agent is then going to start picking up the phone to another agent and say, guys, these guys have not performed. Do you reckon you can sell it? If so, come out, take your photos, do whatever you need to do, and let's give you guys a run. Because no vendor is going to allow it to stay with an agent for multiple months and not get any results. The outcome they want is that they want to sell the property. Does everyone kind of understand where we are with that? So I've tried to make it as easy as possible for tonight's session, but more importantly, let's have a look at the market here. So when we talked about at the start that filling your pipeline, making sure that you've got enough deals, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a little stat that there's 53,000 estate agents in the country. Now, even if all the deal sources in the UK got together, we still could not be able to cover 53,000 estate agents. So when people say to me, is this a saturated marketplace? No, it's not, because here we're actually only talking about estate agents. We've not covered all the other agencies that we could be covering. And when you start to look at it from that point of view, in actual fact, you're probably getting closer to the best part of 100,000 agents. And if you think that even 100,000 agents all have on average around 20, 30 properties, you can see the level of activity that there is in the marketplace. Now, Rightmove itself has over 800,000 properties for sale. And these are all stats that, again, I think these were stats from late 2021 to early 2022, but the stats have actually only increased as a result of that. Okay, so D says, I've had bad loan ranger sources trying to charge me 6 to 8 without not much knowledge of the property. Okay, so D, so you've actually come across sources that are actually trying to offer you properties to charge you 6 to 8 grand, but actually not being able to package the property. And they go that fellow sources have actually paid sources, and the property wasn't actually as advertised. Now, believe it or not, this is where you've got to become a credible sourcer. So Daniel says, is this session live or pre-recorded? Hopefully by me answering that question for you, Daniel, that kind of indicates that this is a live session. So Michael said, so what you've just said, does that mean that I cannot get a lease option, or is there a way that some agents get paid? So, okay, so Michael, let's kind of answer that question, because lots of people, I know that Tony's asking a question about lease options as well. So it is possible to do lease options with estate agents. I've done multiple lease options with an estate agent. It's a little bit more complex because they don't understand that kind of creative strategy. But more importantly, You've got to think of it now, Michael, Tony, because you both asked the same question. Just imagine now you're the estate agent. I'm going to come in and say, hi, Michael. I've seen that you've got a property. It's been on for sale for a few months. Now, I believe that I've got a solution that I can offer your owner. But it may mean that I may not buy the property now, but I may buy it in the future. Now, I'm just giving you a random pitch, by the way. This is not how I come across. Would you be open to that proposition? Now, think of it from an agent's point of view, because let's face it, they make their money when they complete the transaction. So off the back of that, what would make that agent motivated to want to work with you? Because let's face it, they want to get money in the bank. You know, it's all very well them getting a deal agreed with Michael and Tony, but if they're not going to see that money for 5 years, let's just imagine that you structure a 5-year lease option. What benefit is that to them? So yes, you can do it, Michael, but you need to come up with a win-win scenario. And what I have done in the past is that I've actually paid the agent's fees for that property, and then we've deducted it from the owner when we come to exercise the option to purchase, whether that be in 3 or 5 years' time. So I get that money back, and Karina says, yes, pay him the fee. So you can pay the fee, and then you can put it in the contract where that money comes back to you, whether it be in a reduced rental amount every month so that you're collecting that money back on a monthly basis, or you can do it where you collect that money back at the end of the transaction and that money comes back to you. But that's something that you have to factor in to your figures. So you have to become a little bit creative. Now, when I was putting this presentation together, and this is all completely new presentation, I thought, well, let me show you some of the agents. So some of these are agents that I've been working with for years. So this is one that I've been working with since 2021. I've been working with some agents from like 2015, and they've got properties that they actually send to me. They go, we've had these, here we go, I've got 2 HMOs on our books that we can't sell. I'm not sure that they are as good investments with guaranteed, I'm not sure why, as they're good investments with guaranteed tenants from the university every year. So this isn't an agent that's actually sending me stock. So as a result of working with that agent once, showing him how it works, and as a result, how easy it is for them to sell. Because let's face it now, by working with us as a deal sourcer, we're actually doing a lot of the work for them. So instead of them now having to vet all these buyers and all these phone calls, etc., we're now coming to them and say, Tom, hi, okay, so that property in Loughborough that you told me about, guess what? I've got an investor interested in it, and here's the details. Let's get the deal signed. Let's get this deal completed. And off the back of that, Tom then goes off and verifies the buyer and gets the deal done. Now, he's got a property that's sold. Think about the whole process. He doesn't care where the buyers come from. He doesn't care whether it's one of his buyers. He doesn't care whether it's the buyer that you've introduced. Remember what his motivation is. His motivation is selling the deal. Now, off the back of that, if you can get him a buyer to buy his property, guess what? Guess what he's going to do next week? He's going to send you another deal. And here's another lady, Joanne, that she said, hi, we keep missing each other on the phone. We played a bit of phone tennis back in October. She said, I want you to list this. And guess what? We sold it within, I think it's 4 days. Off the back of that, she kept coming back to us and said, okay, here's another deal. Here's another deal. Here's another deal. Now, we don't proclaim that we're going to sell every deal. It's impossible, because if that was the case, we would have every estate agent knocking on our door. But what we can do is actually open it out to a marketplace that estate agents don't pretty much, they're not too familiar with. I don't want to say they don't know about, because they do, but they're not too familiar with. And it all comes down to what value you're adding to the property. So Joanna gave me a property, we put it on, sold it 4 days later, she gives us more. Now here's another guy, Jack, another agent, and I've seen your presentation. So we normally, when I call an agent, I say to them, guys, this is who I am. I've seen that you've got this property. Can I put it out to my guys? Can I put it out to my investors? Hopefully someone takes it or bites on it. And off the back of that, I can then call you, and then you can go through that process. Have you got any details about it, Arsh? Or, seems okay, I'm happy to run with it, but I just need some information. So I generally send them a mini presentation pack, and then off the back of that, that's when Jag came back to me and said, okay, I've seen your presentation, happy to proceed, start marketing it to your investors, and it works extremely well. Now, some of you are going to say, well, Arsh, okay, so D says, I don't have the confidence to speak to estate agents about this though. But D, okay, so why? My question is, so the question that she's asked is that, or she said that, is that she doesn't have the confidence to speak to estate agents. Why have you put the estate agents on such a pedestal that you don't have the confidence? Where are you finding your deals from then, D? Are you getting them from vendors? Because believe it or not, vendors are a lot more scarier than estate agents, because vendors are actually the people that are feeling the pain of missed mortgage payments, or all the months that the property is not being sold. And so as a result, I don't understand why you wouldn't work with estate agents. Remember, going back to my analogy, it's investors, homeowners only have got one property. Estate agents have got 30, 40 or 50. And again, D, with this, it is about repetition and it is about being consistent. So don't think you're going to get one call, one hit. You're going to get one call, one miss. But you're going to have to make 10 calls, and in those 10 calls, you're going to have to appraise them and say, okay, this went well, this didn't go so well. And more importantly, D, if you get through this, and you will get through this, is that this will actually build your confidence. As a result of building your confidence, this will build you as a person, full stop. Because if you can pick up the phone and cold call and speak to someone, well, in actual fact, you're not cold calling. I call it cold calling, but in actual fact, you're not cold calling, because you're calling an agent about a property that they're advertising that you know that they need to sell. Off the back of that, you'll then go and say, guys, okay, you're actually offering them something that they need. They need to sell the property. They don't care whether it's D selling it, whether it's Tony selling it, whether it's Michael selling it, whether it's Leroy or Conrad or Richard or Caroline. They don't care that they've never worked with you before. If you're offering them an opportunity to sell the property where it's not going to cost them anything, they're not going to lose anything, they're not going to risk anything, they can't risk their reputation, they can't lose any money, and they've got everything to gain. So why wouldn't they work with you? Does that kind of make sense? And think about it from that kind of point of view, D, and you'll start to think that in actual fact, this is actually quite a massive opportunity. Because when we look at 2023 now, everyone's talking about a price downturn and this is going to happen in the market, that's going to happen in the market. No one knows what's going to happen in the market. The beautiful thing is that as you're a deal sourcer, you don't care. When I say you don't care, that's a bad way of putting it, but regardless what happens in the marketplace, you can structure your pricing accordingly. So if a house was 100 grand before Christmas, you should be talking to them and saying, guys, okay, we think there's been a bit of a downfall or a downturn, so realistically we should be looking now around the 95 grand mark, because this is what estate agents do. When a property is not sold for a number of months, they call you and said, hi Tony, yeah, we've got your property on the market, we've had it on for 100,000, we've not had many biters, or we've not had much interest. Do you mind if we reduce it by 5,000? So we're now going to have it for 95,000. This is what they're already doing. So in actual fact, anything that you say to them is not actually new. They're actually doing this to their clients already. Does that make sense? So whether it's a buyer's market, whether it's a seller's market, you're in a win-win situation, and you're simply the trader that's adjusting the pricing according to the economic climate. And the reason why I love deal trading, I don't mind saying it, is because every day is a different day. Because no two deals are the same. One agent may have, let's say, a standard buy-to-let, another one might be like a HMO, another one might be, we structure rent-to-rents with agents all the time. We structure, lease options. We structure BMV deals. So it's about understanding the different strategies. I've got lots of commercial agents that come to me actually with land, and I like those because they kind of bring their own little challenges. And as a result, we try and do stuff where we can exchange and delay completion, or look where there's a planning gain option, or try and figure out What is it that we can do to add value? Because there's something that we see that an estate agent doesn't see, and as a result, that is what brings us the value. And as a result, that is why the investor is going to pay us a fee, and this is a deal that they would not have seen previously. Now, as I said, the estate agent has done all the work for you. They've already gone out, they've found the property, they've got the vendor, they've got the signed agreement from the vendor. Now, they've got all the pictures, they've got all the floor plans, they've got all the descriptions. You actually don't need to leave your house. Now, it sounds a bit crazy. It sounds a bit crazy, but you don't need to leave the house, because remember, if you find an investor, it's going to be the estate agent that's going to be taking them through the sales process. And it's the estate agent that's already viewed the property. So they've taken all the photos. I don't understand people that want to go and view all the properties that they source. I certainly couldn't view all the properties that I source. Now, Karina says, I've seen a few lease options where you have to pay in 5 or 6 years, but asking for a fee up front. Okay. It's slightly more complicated, Karina, I don't mind saying that, but every deal is different. Going back to my point here, is that the most strategic will be the most successful. When people are doing lease options, they've got multiple different reasons for wanting to sell. Now, that 50 or 60,000 pounds upfront payment that you may be talking about may actually be the equity that the vendor's got in the deal. So they're happy for someone to come and take on the rest of the mortgage, but they want the equity up front so that they can go off and do other things. So there's lots of reasons why they may want to take an upfront payment, but that's for a much different session. I hope that helps, Karina. I've tried to give you a bit of an indication there. More important, let's have a look at all the positives. No tenants, no maintenance, no bank borrowings because you're not buying anything. You're 100% hands-free investing. You're not tying up any capital, and you can deal with any property in any town, any city or country. Now, the reason why I say that is because if you're an estate agent, you don't actually have that flexibility. If you're Connells and you're the Wolverhampton branch of Connells, you can't actually take on a property in Birmingham, or you can't take on a property in Coventry or in Grimsby or wherever it may be, because you're governed by your area and your locality. Whereas you're freelance. You can be talking with Connells in Wolverhampton one day, could be talking Retrains in Grimsby the next day, you could be talking with this agent over there, this agent over there. And the reality is that you can work all over the country. Does that make sense? You can deal with any property in any town, any city, or believe it or not, in actual any country. And it can be started and stopped when you require. And it can be done all around the world. I've been sat when I've been on holiday. One of the most memorable was when I went to, I think it was Qatar. And off the back of that, I was literally taking calls on my mobile phone. And there are systems, so you've got VoIP phone systems, which is very, very cheap to run. And off the back of that, you're making calls based in Qatar, but people will think you're actually calling from Wolverhampton or your location. And these are systems that you can set up very easily. And it can be stopped and started where you want and when you want. So if you're going on holiday, you're thinking, well, in actual fact, no, I want to rest. You can actually stop. And it just means that you stop working, calling agents, and they stop feeding you properties for that short period of time. More importantly, no solicitors, no surveyors, no refurbishment works, no builders, no contractors, because you're not owning the property. You're simply acting as a glorified estate agent and transacting the transaction of the, or let's should I say, facilitating the sale of the transaction. And there's no risk, because if you don't own anything, there's nothing that can go wrong. Now, think about it from an estate agent's point of view. Because they've not sold anything, if they've not sold anything, what's the worst that can happen? The owner can take it somewhere else. But if you've bought it and you've got a vested interest, or you've got capital tied up in it, what can go wrong? There's lots that you can actually lose. Remember, this is something that you can generate a full-time income from part-time hours. Is there any questions so far? So Dee says, I love the fact that I don't actually have to go to the city where the property is. You don't have to at all, Dee. Remember, all the, they've done everything for you. All you've got to do is maintain that relationship of that agency. And it really is as simple as that. So you can create full-time income from part-time hours. Now, depending on what your cash flow level looks like and what you perceive as like a ideal cash flow level. If the average deal is around £3,000, which is like the starter fee that we kind of charge of £3,000, really one deal alone is going to generate approximately 36,000 a year. If you do one deal a month, that's going to give you an income of approximately 36,000 a month. You do two deals and you're now into some decent income. Two deals a month is very doable. Does that make sense? So let's have a look at now what we consider as a deal. So have a look at this list online. So buying something below market value, buying a property which is in need of renovation, buying something that's already income producing, buying something that's producing a good return on investment, something that's got a good potential of capital growth, something that's sustainable, cash flow opportunity, capital appreciation, opportunity to add value, refurbishment, planning gain, control with little capital, use someone else's asset in exchange of time. Now, out of these, which would you consider a deal? So I'm hoping, so whilst you're answering that question, I'm going to answer this. So I'm hoping I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Micah. Can you do this trading whilst based in Spain and not visit the UK very often? Believe it or not, Micah, I've got someone that I've trained. They're actually based in Saudi Arabia, and they do this based from Saudi Arabia, and they actually do 4 deals a month. Now, bear in mind that Saudi Arabia, they've got a time difference. They're 4 hours ahead. English is not his first language. He's not based in the country, so he's obviously not viewing the property, but he's got agents literally sending him stock every month, and he's actually then sending it over and we're selling them. So Michael says all of them. That's the reality, is that all these are all actually kind of deals, because now if I've got a database of 50,000 people, now just imagine the people on this webinar here. We've got quite a few people on this webinar. Now everyone's going to have their own kind of parameter, what I would consider their own investment parameter. So someone may be looking for a HMO. Someone may be looking for a property to convert into HMO. Someone wants one that's ready-made. Someone wants one that they're going to convert themselves. Someone wants a rent-to-rent. Someone wants a lease option. Someone wants a piece of land. So my question to you is, don't fall into the trap of being a one-trick pony. Because before, I was only looking for below market value deals that had a discount of 25% plus. So if a house was worth 100 grand, I was trying to offer them 75 or 70,000, and I was missing out all the other opportunities. And this is probably naivety. So this is some of the knowledge that I can share with you guys. So I was missing out all the ones that like full market value, where I could add value, where I could generate cash flow. And again, my parameters are going to be different to Karina's or Tony's or Michael's or Caroline's or Leroy's, because everyone's got their own ideal of what their property is. So when you're working with agents, going back to my point, there's no point trying to do all this direct to vendor marketing for one deal. You might as well start working with multiple agents that you can pick up the phone to tomorrow. In actual fact, have 30 or 40 properties, and then you can say, okay, this one is a below market value opportunity. This one could be a title split opportunity. This one could potentially become a rent to rent. This one could potentially become a HMO. This one could be a block of apartments, whatever it may be. And as a result of that, you'll see how easy the deals actually start to come together. Now, if you've got all the tools, if you've got the cash flow calculator, if you've got the vision of how to understand what floor plans look like, this is a really easy process. The first one may take you an hour or so to appraise, but the aim is to get you to a point where you look at something and say, yeah, okay, boom. Yes, I understand that property. I understand the location. I understand the legality or the red tape surrounding that location. I understand what the property is now. I understand what the property can become. I understand the cash flow model of what it is now. I understand the cash flow model of what it become. And believe it or not, by utilizing some of my spreadsheets and my tools and my, all the documents I've got in place, you can appraise a property within literally 20 minutes maximum. Let's have a look at the deals that we've put out this week on the Property Investor app. So these are deals that have come from a meridian of sources. So we've got a £900,000 16-bed HMO in Wakefield we've got a 4-bedroom mid-terrace HMO opportunity, which means that's a house which could be converted into HMO in Middlesbrough. We've got a 6-year lease option in Maidstone. We've got 6 self-contained flats in Blackpool. We've got a 5-year lease option in London, and we've got a 3-bedroom property in Bishop Auckland. Now, if you look at these here, no transaction is the same. So if you don't have the skills of how to look at all the different styles of properties, you would have missed out on quite a few of those. So if you were only looking at below market value opportunities, probably 1 out of 6 was a below market value opportunity. The others were lease options, there were blocks of apartments, there were HMOs, there were full market values opportunities. So here at the bottom, I put the most strategic person will be the most successful, because this is a person that sees the opportunity and understands the strategy, and as a result we can now package this, put this out to the investors, and as a result get the deal done and get the sold. And more importantly, as a deal sourcer, because you're seeing all these opportunities at source firsthand, guess what, you get to see the best deals first. Now, I've been quite vocal about this deal. It's actually on my YouTube channel, believe it or not. So someone came to me with an office block of 26 offices within Wolverhampton city centre. I was actually looking for an office to rent, and as a result, now I've structured that as a 3-year lease option, and I've agreed a deal at 500,000, but I believe the end value could be within the region of 800,000 to £1 million. But I've got lots of uplift in this property. Now, I could kind of question that, would I've seen this opportunity without it being listed on with an agent? No, I wouldn't have, because again, they've got the pull of the hundreds of £1,000s of marketing in place. But I've managed to get the deal done. Again, another deal. So this is a rent to rent in Manchester. Now, this was a direct to vendor deal. So they originally potentially wanted to sell. I didn't think that selling was their best option. As a result, I agreed a 5-year rent to rent on the property, where we got a 3-month rent-free period. We converted it into a 10-bed HMO SA model, and as a result, it's going to produce cash flow of around £6,000 a month. None of my money, none of my own money was used on this deal. Now, again, you don't have to sell every deal that you see. If you think, you know what, I like the look of this and I can structure it in a way where it's going to make financial sense for me, you keep that deal. So Michael says, does the agent take the property off Rightmove after they send it to you? Not necessarily. Again, that's something that we have to go into stage 2. So when you work with an agent, they want to make sure that they're not losing commission. They want to make sure that they're not losing exposure. So there are certain things that you have to say to an agent to ensure that everything works extremely well. So here's another property in Wolverhampton. I'm just giving you examples of a couple of properties that we did last year. A property, this was on with an estate agent for 180,000. Believe it or not, I actually offered the full market value of 180,000. They had lots of offers below the market value. I went straight in at 180,000 because I knew I could add value to the property immediately. Now, we went off and got planning permission for 6 1-bedroom apartments, and we've now got it valued at £600,000 and generates over £40,000 per annum, and it gives a cash flow of approximately £1,900. But I got all my money back out on this deal, so it means that I've got no money tied up in it. And then I could talk to you about other properties that I've taken on. So we've done 10-year lease options on properties in Cornwall, where it's a ready-made 3-bed. And again, if you want to go, feel free to go and check it out on tincroftcottage.co.uk. That's my property. So it's a property that we go and stop at. It's in Cornwall, a place called Porthtown, right next to the beach. So the vendor lives abroad. We agreed a 10-year lease option, rent to rent with the option to purchase. We've got a 6-month rent-free period, and it cash flows approximately £2,000 a month. Now, what I did this specifically for my own purpose, because I wanted a second home or a holiday home in the UK, and that is something that we come across. Again, we've got another property that we use as almost like a city break in Liverpool. It's a penthouse. It's a 3-bed penthouse, sleep 6. It was a tied landlord. We agreed a 7-year rent to rent with the option to purchase, and we had 1 month rent free. And within 12 hours of going on booking on 12 hours of going live on Airbnb, it had over 15 bookings at £250 a night. Now, if the rent to landlord is approximately £700 to £800, we only need 3 bookings a month in actual fact to break even on that property. Now, I'm going to talk to you about a young man called Craig. Craig Webb, believe it or not. It's a young, he called me out of the blue. He goes, Arsh, he goes, I've been doing some deal sourcing for a short while, and I don't think I've got it right. I'm just summarizing what he said here, by the way. I don't think I've got it right. I don't know what I'm kind of saying to them. I don't know what's the best way of approaching them. And as a result, I said to him, well, why don't you come and spend a bit of time with me in the office? Now, within an hour of speaking to Craig, I kind of understood what was going wrong. Now, I understood what he was saying to the vendors, what he was saying to the agents, what went well, what did not go so well. And as a result, I fine-tuned that and turned the no's into yeses. So within a month of having come on that bit of training, he got 8 deals in 1 month. And here's some of the deals that he did. So he managed to do a 5-bed sits, which was in Worksop, a block of apartments in London. He actually managed to do a 5-bedroom HMO in Hull. And these are all deals that sold, by the way. 7 income-producing properties in Walsall, which is in the West Midlands, a 4-bedroom HMO in Burnley, and a fully 5-bedroom licensed HMO in Boston. Now, it was really easy for Craig, and the reason why I say it's really easy for Craig, because all he had to do, very simply, was find them, speak to the agent, and get them listed onto the Property Investor app. Now, more recently, in November 2022, I ran a 5-day property challenge where I asked people to come into a room, at a hotel room, in a hotel conference room in Wolverhampton, and I got them all to train for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, where we went through live webinars. And on the 5th day, I got them all in a conference room in Wolverhampton. I got them calling agents, and it was amazing to see the level of deals that came out of it. So Salim found deals on day 5. Sonny found 2 deals when he's in the room. We had Simon actually sold his deal whilst in the room on that Friday. And then we had Will, he got 2 deals over the line. We've got Carmina, she got 6 potential deals. And Darren had found 8 deals, all within the space of a couple of days. Now, these are all guys, and again, they're all variances in different strategies. So looking at below market value deals, rent to rent deals, lease option deals, full market value deals, and then not to mention all the other strategies. These are just some of the strategies. It can be slightly overwhelming, I don't mind saying that. But if you have a look at all the different strategies, if you understand the fact that there are lots of different strategies out there, lots of different estate agents, lots of different letting agents, and you are able to apply the strategy to them, you will never be short of leads. Does that kind of make sense? Does that kind of make sense? So some of these vendors are direct to vendor. Some of these deals are direct from agents. Others are actually, believe it or not, co-sourcing. So that's another strategy that we're actually partaking. So if you want more case studies, feel free, you can go and check out the Property Investor app. All the deals that are on there either are sourced by ourselves or by myself, or part of my training program, the Elite Property Tribe members, which kind of nicely takes me on to the Elite Property Tribe. Now, you've probably seen in this presentation the potential to what can be done, and my aim now is to make sure that you take full advantage of that potential. So I run a program called the Elite Property Tribe, and what the Elite Property Tribe, it's a 52-week program, and it's actually 52 modules of online training. And what we do, we tend to look at all the different kinds of cash flow strategies. So whether that be, finding below market value deals, rent to rent deals, lease option deals, HMO deals, service accommodation, and commercial to residential. They're the 6 kind of main ones. But as a result of that, we look at all the different ways that we can find these, whether it be below market, whether it be going direct to vendor, with agents, the different kind of agents. So again, there's multiple different kinds of agents. We go national agents, independent agents, we look at letting agents, we look at auctions, we look at, you know, all the different commercial agents, just to name a few. So it's 52 modules of online training, and as well as that, every fortnight on a Monday evening between 7 and 9, we do a live deal clinic, and that's with me. So every fortnight on a Monday, we held one last Monday, and it's only for EPT members. We hold a fortnightly live deal clinic. As well as that, you have the ability to come shadow me in my office all throughout the year. So you can book a time in with my PA, Fran, and off the back of that, you can come and spend a day in the office with me. As well as that, if you see a deal and you think, well, I'm not 100% sure, is this a deal, is it not a deal? You have the ability to book a 10-minute call with me, and you can discuss the opportunity with me, and I can provide you with the support. I can ask you the questions. Okay, tell me about the opportunity. Where's it come from? What's it currently producing? How much is it producing? Who is the clientele? You know, what's the option here? What can we add? How can we add value? You know, is it increasing income? Is it increasing the layout, etc.? And off the back of that, that gives you more ammunition for you to go back and appraise the property, and it starts to almost become second nature for you. We've got 4 virtual live meetups throughout the year. And as well as that, you've got access to all the other hundreds of hours of previous webinars that I've ran. So it is a platform, you get your own login, you get your own password. Off the back of that, you can watch all the previous webinars. So it's pretty much like a Netflix, but for property training programs. You get to sell your, so if you're part of the Elite Property Tribe, you get to sell your deals to my database through the Property Investor app. As well as that, you get access to all my useful contacts. So that can be people like mortgage brokers, solicitors, accountants, tax advisors. And again, part of being part of it is part of my WhatsApp group as well. As well as that, as I said, you get access to my documentation, and you'll also get access to my spreadsheets. And the biggest thing that you'll get is a spreadsheet, which is what I call the cash flow calculator. The cash flow calculator, within seconds, you put in some details and it'll say deal, yes or no. And that's where you want to be. You want to be in a position where you literally input some details and it says yes or no to you. So I'm just going to give you a quick video there. If you watch on the left-hand side, you can see the kind of modules that we kind of cover. So we're looking at the strategies, we're looking at the deals, we're looking at the investors, we're looking at how to source deals using social media. We're looking at sourcing in terms of packaging deals, how to use planning registers, how to use spare room, how to use HMO register, how to be strategic, how to find, believe it or not, how to even find tenants. We then start looking at rent to rent, we look at service accommodation. So there's 52 modules, and believe it or not, it is every aspect of property sourcing that you can ever understand. Now, we always start the Elite Property Tribe on the first Monday of February, and that's Monday the 6th of February. And we always start it with a 5-day challenge. I throw everyone into deep end. And the reason why I do that is because it's a very intense first week. On the first week, we start with a Monday night webinar, then a Tuesday night webinar, Wednesday night webinar, Thursday night webinar, and on day 5, on the Friday, I ask everyone to come to Wolverhampton, and as a result, we do a day on the phones. Now, what a day on the phones looks like is pretty much getting around the table and implementing the things that you've covered on the first 4 days. Now, as well as that, remember, it is a 52-week program. I'm going to give you a crash course for the first 5 days so that I throw you into the deep end, so that you've got the tools, the tricks, and the knowledge to get you started, so that my aim is to get you your first deal within the first week. Does that make sense? So D says, is there lifetime access to the modules? So you get access to the modules for the first year, D, and then it is £300 for the second year. Okay, so Mika says, would this training be good for a person who's only interested in sourcing deal packaging? Absolutely, because remember, the key skill to any property investment strategy is sourcing, because if you don't know how good the actual property investment strategy is, how do you know if it's a good deal or not? So I 100% agree that you should be understanding how to source it and how to appraise it, so that you can say, is this a good deal or not? Now, when you come to Wolverhampton on the day on the phones, what we're pretty much looking for is for you to be spending a day looking for deals, a day spending speaking to vendors and agents, a day appraising deals, a day calculating returns on investment and yields, a day looking at the hotspots and looking at supply and demand. And you're going to be working with other fellow EPT members. So we get all the EPT members in there. And as a result, this is only available to EPT members. Now, the one thing I am going to say is that it's really good for confidence building. So D, if you're not 100% sure that can I really speak to agents, believe it or not, the day on the phones is really good, because very quickly I'll understand what you're saying, and off the back of that I'll say yes D or no D. And as a result, if it's a no D, we then just kind of confirm the things that you're saying, and off the back of that we'll find how quickly it goes from no to yes. And an example of that is I had a student called J.U. Day. He came to the office for a one-day on the day, a shadowing day. He had no property, he had no money to invest. He's a first-time EPT member. And within the day, he actually negotiated 2 HMOs. He had lots of calls where everyone kept saying, no, 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 don't want to speak to you, no, I don't understand you, no. By the end of the day, we had 2 deals sourced and we packaged them, and we actually sold them to investors the same day. So what the program is actually, believe it or not, I don't only just teach the theory, I teach you the practical approach. Hopefully this session has actually taught you that I think slightly outside the box, and as a result, we get solutions. Now, with this program, it is a mentorship and it is accountability. So I will always be by your side. We have the fortnightly deal clinics every fortnight on a Monday between 7 and 9. I'll be helping with you negotiations. So if D came to me and said, Arsh, I've seen a property, but I'm not 100% sure I'm confident with speaking to the agent yet, you book a 10-minute call, and off the back of that, I go through the call. I actually sit on the call with you, so that if the estate agent starts asking you any difficult questions, I jump in and go, okay, yes, yeah, this is why we're doing it, this is how we're doing it, and this is how we all work together. You get the private WhatsApp group, so there's a lot of my time that goes into this. You've got an EPT learning journal, we've got the platform, which has got over 400 hours worth of training, and then we've got the quarterly EPT exclusive meets with live keynote speakers. So the accountability module, or the accountability journal, looks a little like this. So every week, I want you to list all the people you've called. So week accountability journal. Who have you following up from last week? Who are you calling this week? Who are you speaking to? Why are you speaking to them? Which property is it relating to? And more importantly, what's the outcome? So at any point, if I need to look at this journal and I say, okay, I'll tell you what, D, last week, let's have a look how many calls you make. I can see a call log of all the properties that you've made, all the calls that you've made. And if you're turning around and say, well, Arsh, I'm not making as much progress as I thought, well, I'll say, well, hang on, last week, you only made 2 calls. But you said in your intention of goals that you're going to make 10 calls a week. So again, there's always something to make you accountable. Now, as I said, you get access to all my network of professionals. So you get access to my solicitors, accountants, tax advisors. You get access to the call sessions, the contracts, my database of 100,000 investors. And we've got the sessions fortnightly on the Monday. We've got the 4 lively meetups. And you've got access to the proven success record and highly regarded in the industry. And you don't make mistakes that I've already made. So you don't need to make mistakes. So I could talk to you about success in the tribe, but let's get straight to this point. So last year, the cost of the course was £6,000. We've reduced it for 2023. I appreciate that lots of things are going up. I've actually brought the price of this down, so it's £5,000. So there's 2 ways to pay. You can either pay pay in full, and you get full access to the whole program immediately, or you can pay in 12 monthly installments. It's slightly more expensive. I think it works out 5,400, and that counteracts all the credit card transactions that we deal with. And the first modules, 4 modules, will be released immediately. Plus, you get access to all the bonus materials, so you'll never be stuck with not watching, not being able to watch something, and the others will be drip fed every week. So there are 2 links that you can get involved with. The one thing I will say is that Now's the time, more so than ever, that you need to surround yourself with people who have dreams, desire, and ambition, as will push you and push for and realize your own. Now, I believe that one of the members at the start said she had lonely deal sourcer syndrome. That's no more. So just giving you a quick update as to what's actually on offer again. We've got the 52 modules, we've got the fortnightly deal clinics, we've got the shadowing days in the office with me, daily 10-minute calls, virtual meets or live or virtual meets, and they've got access to all the previous webinars. You get to JV and sell your deals with me, and we work on a 50-50 split fee basis on the deals. You get access to all my contacts and the WhatsApp group. And again, it's either one payment or 12 monthly payments, depending on how you want to work. So I'm going to leave this screen up now. So if you want more info, so someone said, can you just put the links in the chat? I'm just going to put the links in the chat. Off the back of that, we're then going to start. Going through some of the Q&A. I know that there's quite a few questions. So if you have a look in the chat, or you should get a message in there which is giving you the links for it. Okay, so Mika says, realistically, what is the yearly earning potential? Now, remember, Mika, I don't want you to go off and say, I'm going to smash 10 deals a month, because realistically, that's not going to happen. I want you to work on the basis that let's start with getting you training. Let's start with getting you familiar with the terminology, and more importantly, let's get you started familiar with the phone calls. Once you understand what you're actually talking about, once you understand how the estate agents work, once you understand how the estate agents are going to respond to you, you know, your opportunity to earn, believe it or not, is actually endless. But I want you to work on the basis that for the first few months, you're going to work on one deal a month. That's what I want you to do. So Dee says, is it only available to join once a year? At the moment, we only do intakes of Feb and June. There may be one in October. However, just bear in mind, Dee, that if you do miss out on the opportunity, think of all the things, all the deals that you're going to be missing out on between now and June. And guess what? In June, something else is going to come in your way. And then off the back of that, you're going to think, well, in actual fact, yes, in October, something else has come our way. You've actually wasted the whole year. And think of all the opportunities that you could have had. So, Conrad, hopefully you've kind of covered that. You said, what's the cost of that again, mate? So it's 5,000 for the year. It's either one payment of 5,000, or you can pay in 12 installments of £450 a month. So, Karina says, how many people max? I only take on 30 people maximum. 30 people maximum, and that allows me the opportunity to spend time with you. It allows me to have time in the office with you. It allows me on the days that you come for the training days, that, or when we on the day on the phones, it allows me to have enough time to flitter through and listen to all the phone calls. Does that make sense? Right. Okay, so Karina says, she's actually paid £12,000 to enroll on another training course that I don't feel confident to share about. Okay, so I appreciate there's lots of other training courses out there. Now, Karina, I'm going to say one thing to you, is that at any point throughout the course, if you need to speak to me, you can pick up the phone to me on my personal mobile number. And the one thing that I actually pride myself on is the fact that I can speak to any one of you, or you can speak to any one of you, can pick up the phone to me at any point and say, Arsh, I'm stuck, I don't know what I'm doing, or etc. And you could call me. Now, with the training program that you're on, whether it be with a large provider or a small provider, I guarantee that you're not going to be able to get access to the trainer. So that's something that you just need to take into consideration. How many times can you speak to the trainer? More importantly, how long has that trainer been doing the training? I've been trading properties 22 years. Does that make sense? So Michael says, you might have answered this already. Once the agent agrees to let me take the property, I'll list on your portal. Do I get the agent to remove from Rightmove? No. Believe it or not, Michael, guess what? Just put yourself in the feet of the agents, or just imagine in the seat of the agents. Now, you're Michael and you're calling the agent. You're calling a national like Connells, and you go, hi, Connells, my name's Michael. I think I can sell your property. Guess what? They're not going to believe you. They're not going to believe you, and they're not going to believe you because, you know, why would they take it off one of the UK's largest platforms just because Michael thinks he can sell the property? And then 2 weeks later, Michael comes back and says, sorry, I've not got a buyer. They've lost out on 2 weeks advertising time. So there are ways and there are tricks and skills that I'll teach you how to speak to the agent and be able to get a level of exclusivity. Does that make sense? Quickly going through some questions. Right, okay. So D says, I've also spent thousands on courses. Yeah, unfortunately, D, there are lots of course providers out there. I get that. I genuinely get that. But unfortunately, I can imagine that you've probably not got the results that you wanted, but more importantly, you've not been able to have access to the trainer. I don't water down our training. All the stuff that you learn will be from me directly. So all the fortnightly webinars will be with me. All the shadowing days will be with me. It won't be with someone that I've trained who is then going to put their spin on it and then try and deliver it to you, which I know a lot of training companies do. I want to be able to give you firsthand the information so that you can get it correct. Victor, with regards to your question in terms of the lease option, it's probably best that you call my office and speak to me directly tomorrow, because that is specific to a property that I know that we've got on the app right now. Okay, so what's the difference between this training and your online training available on your website? This is the online training talks. The difference is that we've integrated the 5-day property challenge within, we've integrated the 5-day property challenge in this program. So we're going to kickstart the 5-day property challenge alone. A 5-day property challenge alone is the best part of £2,000. So one thing I am going to say, I'm just going to quickly finish off. We've got 2 more slides. Don't panic, because I'll be providing you with some live leads to prepare and get ready to sell. It simply requires you to make calls and find out some key info, and my team will then package the deal and sell it to my investors. New leads will be released weekly and all over the UK. So here's some of the people that have actually succeeded extremely well in the tribe, and I'll come back to some more Q&A in a second. Ashley Walker has gone off and built a whole portfolio with none of his own money as a result of understanding how to source, how to actually gone off and got JV finance, and he's built a portfolio of properties himself. Bavni completed on multiple deals, which are all rent-to-rent deals. Lenka has done multiple deals, so some of them have been lease options, some of them have been rent-to-rent, some of them have been below market value deals. And what she said, the fact that the EPT training comes with a WhatsApp support group that I can access when I need advice is just incredible. So access to advice is pretty much on tap. Does that make sense? So Ale, one thing I really like about Ale is the fact that he found a load of deals, but in actual fact, he didn't sell a single one of them. He actually kept them for his own portfolio. So he goes, not only did I learn the strategies, but also learned to strengthen my confidence and belief that I can do it. He went from 7 properties to 17 properties within a year with a 100% occupancy rate. Amanda found lots of deals within the EPT, again, and Adam, believe it or not, Adam's probably one of the most successful students along with Ashley. And the reason why I say that is because Adam, off memory, has done approximately 50 deals within the Elite Property Tribe. So as part of becoming an Elite Property Tribe member, you can also use the leverage of the Property Investor app to negotiate deals with vendors and agents and become the go-to person in your area. So that kind of one thing I will put up there is that for those that can't jump on the Elite Property Tribe for whatever reason, and I'm going to give you a lifeline here, because you have the ability to perhaps, if you just want an hour coaching call, there is a cost to that. It's £250 for an hour. Or you can do the 5-day property challenge alone. Off memory, I think that's best part of £2,000 just for the challenge itself. So that'll be the 5-day challenge, but then you won't get the full 52 other modules. It's just the 5-day property challenge. So I thought I'd throw that in there because I know a lot of people will want some support with that. So D, if you've not already done the workshop and you could perhaps go back to the other training provider. Again, I don't know how that works. Something for you to think about. So Michael said, Arsh, if I don't take the program, I'll find some deals because still JV, you can still sell them on the app. I'm not going to say that you can't sell them on the app because that we are an open platform. However, we won't appraise them. All we'll do is we'll look at it on the app and we'll say yes or no. If you turn around to me and say, well, Arsh, how can I make this deal better? Unfortunately, we won't spend the time on that. I'll be honest on that, Michael. We're very clear on that because that's our time. Are there any other questions that you want me to answer whilst we're here? Someone said, can you put your contact details up on screen? So I will say that if you don't build your own dream, someone will hire you to build theirs. And remember, with everything that's going on in the world right now, it's definitely an opportunity for you to take advantage of. For those that want to have a chat with me and you want to speak to me during office hours, you feel free to call the office number, which is on screen now. Which is 773940, Wolverhampton code. You'll get through to my assistant Fran, and then as a result of that, she'll either put me through if I'm not on the phone, or I will definitely call you back. So that kind of concludes what today's session is all about. Is there any questions that anyone else has got? I think we've been through quite a lot. We've gone through quite extensive process as to what you should be looking for, what you shouldn't be looking for. So, okay, so how long do you give after training support? So if you come on the 52-week training program, you're with me for a year. If you decide to book on for another year, it's actually only £300. It's not another £5,000. So I don't charge massive fees. It's just the cost of the admin to keep you within the platform. Other than that, if you decide to do the 5-day property challenge, you'll be in a WhatsApp group, but the support will be predominantly with the Elite Property Tribe. Does that make sense? Okay, so Dee says, thank you so much for the evening. So you've learned a lot. Hopefully you've learned a lot, Dee. And if you've got any questions, feel free to call me on the office. I'm going to be in the office tomorrow. And then off the back of that, if you've got any questions, or Dee, if you've got any questions, etc., feel free to call me and I'll see what we can do. So I think that kind of concludes. We've been on the session for quite a while. Any questions, feel free to email through. You can email it through to arsh@arshalahi.com, or alternatively call the office number, speak to Fran, and as a result, let's see what we can do. On that note, guys, I wish you all a lovely rest of the evening, and I will speak to you all very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.